I think these days we have misinterpreted equality and women, the movement of feminism, blah, 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 of wanting to be equal with men, as confusing it as being men. We aren't even on the same biological clock as men. Like, the male biological clock is a daily 24-hour thing. Their energy levels fluctuate based on the day. Women, it's the month. Women go through 4 phases of our menstrual cycle every month. We're not even on the same biological clock as a man. So I even struggle with this. I used to be really in tune with like femininity and stuff, but now that I started working again, it's hard to not try to force myself to kind of forfeit my femininity and be on the same 24-hour clock as a man, where it's all about productivity and stuff. But I think this obsession with productivity and being able to do more and feeling pathetic for taking things to heart or being sensitive or whatever it is, it has roots in childhood trauma and how... Fuck, I was just talking to myself about this. Where do I begin? Like, when an adult hurts a child, there's such an extreme power imbalance in how vulnerable the child is. You can't fucking sit with yourself with the weight of knowing that you have traumatized a child, you being an adult. Unless you do all kinds of backflips and manipulation and shit, you can't just sit with the raw fact that you have traumatized a child, and it's likely going to start a cycle in their life or perpetuate and deepen a cycle in their life of shame and bad behavior. I hate that I even just said bad behavior, because I don't think any behavior is like bad. It's going to perpetuate a cycle of trauma in their life, and you've just made it worse, or you made the first cut. You can't fucking sit with yourself when you do that. So I think when an adult has hurt a child, or they see that the world has already hurt them, or just whatever it is, you can't sit with yourself and kind of accept, now I'm just doing damage control if I even try to fix it, and it's kind of out of my hands because the wound has been created. So it's easier. I don't think I've ever abused a child, so I can't even say we, but when adults abuse a child, it's almost easier to convince yourself, oh no, they're just soft. No, they're undisciplined. They need to be disciplined. They're too sensitive. Oh, you need to toughen up. You need to get thicker skin, blah, blah, blah. And then kind of offload the responsibility of what you did onto the child. And then the child internalizes this because they want to please adults, because it's about survival. And adults have more powerful nervous systems. They're stronger. They have more social power, everything. So children will usually take on the submissive role and like want to please the adult or agree with them, and they see them as a mentor. So the child will usually internalize most, if not all, punishment or criticism that an adult gives them, including if the adult was wrong. If an adult hurt a child, the child shows sensitivity. They show that they've been wounded, and then the adult can't handle it because they know they fucked up. And so they'll project that back onto the child, the responsibility. They'll offload it onto the child and say like, oh, it was because you did this, because actions have consequences, because you deserve punishment, because you're too sensitive. You shouldn't be that upset. You need to grow thicker skin, whatever shit they say. The child then internalizes that and then views the sensitivity that they have as wrong and something they need to grow out of or suck it up or whatever. And then, especially little girls especially who have been abused by men, adult men, or this male worshiping culture that doesn't account for women. The girls think they need to suck it up. They can't cry. It's not safe to cry. It's not safe to, or girls, it's dangerous to be a girl. Not even to mention the kind of violent rape culture we have against little girls and women in general. Not even mentioning that. Jeez. But then we internalize it when we're kids, and then we think we have to grow up to tough things out and just push through things and shut up and get up every fucking day and be ashamed of ourselves and monitor ourselves and police ourselves and reprimand ourselves when we were quote unquote wrong because we didn't people please well enough. And if we were a kid, we would have got punished by an adult. And we just distort ourselves. And so nowadays when I come across this advice, even like when I think like, I catch myself like, I should go to the gym every fucking day. Like if I don't, I'm not productive. I need to suck it up and keep going because I'm not good enough. I'm not healthy enough and blah, blah, blah. I'm so hard on myself about my body. Anything. I've never not been hard on myself about my body. Because I grew up in the environment that I did in the world. I grew up in the world. But I'll never be satisfied. Probably not. And I think like, no, I just need to, I'm on my period, too bad. I need to go to the gym. I need to work as many hours as I can. And I catch myself and I kind of think like, I almost started that today. I almost started thinking in the same tone that my grandfather or my father would have talked to me in. Like exposing the need to rest or the need for comfort, or even being a woman, femininity, obviously needing to rest during my cycle. I'm not a fucking man. Men don't have the same hormonal makeup as a woman. It's different. And it almost felt like I was viewing my femininity and like sensitivity and my intuition, being in tune with my body and what I need, I viewed it as like disgusting, like it needs to be eliminated. It is shameful. It deserves to be beaten out of you or raped out of you. And I kind of thought, damn, this is the same tone of thinking that the men in my life used when I was a child. And some women who raised me when I was a child who have succumbed to this man-centered life, who push themselves way too hard every day and keep going despite pain and their body telling them to rest and their mind telling them to something doesn't sit right with them emotionally, but then they instead keep going with it and try to shut down their emotions and be on the same playing field as like a toxic man would be. That the way that I was thinking about going to the gym all the time and never having a moment of vulnerability or rest or weakness or like sensitivity without being numb, that's like the same train of thought that they would have spoken to me with as a child. And so it's a bit of a cycle. Like children who were abused out of our sensitivity because an adult didn't want to admit to themselves that they've abused a child. Then if you're a child who experiences that, it starts so many different cycles at the same time, and they're so complex. On top of you feeling unsafe, resting and being in tune with your femininity and vulnerability, thinking it's always going to be used against you, or you'll be forced into submission in all kinds of humiliating ways if you admit like vulnerability or surrender or whatever it is. It creates adults, the kids become adults who think they constantly need to be productive, constantly need to be getting stronger and tougher and able to win all the time. And it creates overachievers in school. See, this is an example of something being a societal issue and not a personal issue. Why the fuck? Teenagers naturally sleep in. Hormonally, teenagers are at a phase where they are naturally going to want to sleep in more and wake up and be up later. Why the fuck, when I went to a public school, why the fuck did they have the rule, if you're not out at the bus stop at 6:45 in the morning, the bus will leave without you? Why the fuck did you think at 7:20 in the morning, or I don't know if it started at 7 or 7:20, you have to be up and alert and ready to learn and keep up with this insane pace of high school? And so we ignore our need to... Puberty is such like a stressful experience on the body. Like we transform so much during that time and during our teenage years. The stress of high school, it's like, and then people internalize it and think like, oh, I'm dumb, or I'm not learning, I'm not trying hard enough, or I must be lazy, blah, blah, blah. I'm just addicted to my phone. I'm addicted to video games. Because we don't have the education needed to know that it's a nervous system. Like the nervous system is trying to relieve itself of how much stress it's under. So we think we're being like lazy or playing too many video games or whatever things teenagers do, when it's a societal issue. Like school is starting way too early. It's too much at once. There's intense social pressure as well. On top of being sexualized so heavily as a teenager, because now, even though we're sexualized from birth to death, children are heavily sexualized in real life, but now it's becoming socially acceptable because they're closer to being 18, so we're sexualized in all kinds of different ways, especially by our teachers, because from what I've seen, a lot of people, including my cousin's husband, who become high school teachers, they do it because they're perverts, because they want access to underage people. I've gotten hit on in high school. I got hit on in 6th grade by a teacher. I got hit on in college by a teacher. Probably before that, but I was too young to understand. Anyway, it's an example of it being a societal issue. Standardized education. Not to mention, girls are already on a different biological clock as boys. But anyway, all this circling back around to there's no equality. Like, I don't know why are we striving for equality, to be on the same playing field as a man when we're not men? It's not even a sign of power. I think what this really says, if women think that doing shit like joining the military and getting up and working a 9 to 5 every day and having the same kind of muscle gains and fitness and energy levels as a man, and wanting to be able to think like a man and all this shit. We think it's a sign of power or safety because it shows how much men have exploited their power over us, or how much this world has centered men to the point where men exploit power over women because the world supports it. And societies all throughout history have been male-centered. So women, I guess it's just, I don't know if it matters if it's smart. It's just like a need for survival. Women want to be equal with men because we want to have the same power. We don't want to be forced into submission. We don't want our perception of femininity and masculinity. A lot of times we think masculine means domination and feminine means submission, because it shows how distorted these power dynamics have gotten. Also, I've been getting kind of irritated and upset when I start thinking about how there's a lot of issues that are cultural and historical and are not in our personal control. Like, you can make little changes here and there, but the struggle is so huge to do things like get out of poverty, or change your diet and lose a bunch of weight, or gain a lot of weight, or overcome these health issues, or avoid them, or avoid an abusive relationship, avoid being exploited by your job, because these are all results of the way our culture is set up. How the fuck was it? I've always been overweight. Even when I was in utero, I was overweight and I was born 12 pounds. Was that my fault? So even when I was 3 years old and I was being called fat and shit, around the time I had my first memories of it happening in preschool. How is it a child's fault? A child can't even tie their fucking shoes. Like, this is how I know. This is how I know that people's logic is flawed when it comes to putting all the responsibility and all the blame and all the stress on the individual for their weight or their health or whatever it is. You have to account for sexism, racism, how the body will hold on to weight when the person is in a chronic state of fear. How one of our first instincts when we came out of the womb was sucking, getting nurturing from the breast for survival. So when we feel stressed out or afraid or emotional, obviously people want to eat when they're emotional a lot of times. Or if shame has really gotten in them to the point where they start shutting down, then they won't eat. But anyway, there's a lot of things that we internalize responsibility for, and full responsibility, because we can't sit with powerlessness. We can't sit with our own privilege a lot of the times, and we act like we got everything in life because we worked for it or because we earned it. Just like we can't sit with our disadvantages of how a lot of things in life we didn't have a chance at, or even if we tried as much as we can, we still have a smaller chance than someone who never had to work a day in their life for a lot of things. And things are innately unfair. I don't know. I know we do stuff like scaffolding, like we try to be like people who inspire us, and it works a lot of the times. Like, it's how we learn a lot of skills, but at the same time, we're not starting at the same level as anyone else. So it's hard to sit with powerlessness. It's hard to sit with disadvantage, and it's hard to sit with the reality that you're very limited in the things that you can do in a lot of areas compared to other people, because they never had to start out from the situation that you did. And I've been thinking about a lot of these things today. I think it was because one of the ladies that I see in the assisted living place, she's larger, and she has some thing with the nerves in her leg, and she can't use her walker anymore, and she just had to start using her electric wheelchair. And I think I was just sensing that energy around me today of like how hard she is on herself about it, and how she almost wants to blame herself. But you can even have a genetic tendency to be overweight. Do you have transportation to get to a gym, to get to a park? Do you live in a safe neighborhood? Do you live in a neighborhood where it's so impoverished that they know that the main money makers are alcohol stores, fast food, and childcare? And that's the pipeline they set you up in? What pipelines are you stuck in? What pipelines do you live in just because you were born in the exact situation and area and parents that you were born to? Like, I think we try to take accountability for a lot of things in our life. And then when we can finally succeed at it, like for me, I've always been overweight. But then when I was like 21, I lost a lot of weight. I think I was the thinnest I ever been. But that's because I lived on campus, or not on campus. I lived across the street from my college campus in an apartment. I lived alone. I was buying all my own food then. I literally lived 5 minutes away from a gym, so I went to the gym every day. I was being encouraged to by everyone around me because my roommate was an ex-Marine, so she was into fitness. I had a car. I don't know what else. I had access to it. So when I want to get hard on myself for the fluctuations my weight has done throughout my life, what were the variables in my life that were impacting it? And we think we have willpower, but willpower is like a thing that gets depleted and it has to be restored. And there's a lot of things in life that will chronically deplete your willpower and your motivation and your self-esteem. So it's like a lot of things that we take credit for us accomplishing in life, it's because we were set up to do it. We were set up to have that. And just like at a certain phase of life, you became more capable of doing something, then you'll become less capable of doing it later. But still, you're not the sole hero. You're not the one who gave yourself full power to do it. You were already set up to do it. And it's the same with doing what we think are bad choices. You're literally set up to do it. But we want to find... We don't like sitting with powerlessness. Especially people who have been traumatized. It's hard to sit with your powerlessness about a lot of things because it automatically brings up some concern about safety, like... So you're powerless, so that means that you're able to be harmed and you're not invincible. That means something has power over you. Many things have power over you, and we don't like to sit with that. So we can't sit with the reality of how we're just biologically different from the opposite sex. Cultures around the world are set up differently, and you were set up to have whatever successes or failures that you think you were the main person, the main driving force in, because you weren't. So before I get too hard on myself for not going to the gym every fucking day because I'm on my period this week, I have to remember that I'm not a man. I don't have the same biological clock. It's something as simple as that. Even though there's a million reasons why sometimes I go to the gym religiously and then sometimes I don't. And I'm not gonna view that as a problem. Like my femininity and my cycle and stuff isn't something to be eliminated. Because there's nothing wrong with it. I'm probably going to go home and smear it on my face too, because there's stem cells in it. It makes a great face mask. But it's weak. It's weak. And you're a bitch. And you're a bitch. And you aren't motivated enough. And I'll probably eat it too. Because if it has stem cells in it, why the hell would I not eat it? I want to drink it by the gallon. Yeah. Also, education. That's something I was thinking about. I know a lot of people in my family, because literally, I think it was my grandfather. My grandfather was an immigrant. Do you know how fucking long it takes an immigrant family to get established to the point where everyone has a college education or even a high school education? I see people in my family get hard on themselves for not graduating high school, not graduating college. All right, it's as if you were set up to do it, as if you had the support system that a lot of people have, as if college and having a car and having the money to fund a car and having the time to take off to dedicate to school when you have to work to have money because your family doesn't have money, blah, 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 whatever your situation is. Were you set up to go to school? Or if you have to go to school later in life in your 30s, I saw a lady who was like 70 in one of my classes. Were you set up to do the traditional graduate high school at 18, graduate college at 22, and have a family and kids by 27 and a house? Don't fucking pull out in front of me. I swear. This lady pulled out in front of me yesterday too, and she literally was side to side with me. Like, didn't you see my car? Never mind. Were you set up? Maybe I'm being too hard on the bitch that pulled out in front of me because maybe she was blind. I don't know. Just like right now, I'm intending to travel for a month in October, even though I haven't left the city in about 4 years because I fell into such a deep depression. I had no money and almost no support, and I was dealing with a lot of shit. I wasn't able to do it then. The only reason I'm traveling now, because it's a progression of events and things I now have access to again. Including digesting through a lot of stuff that I was going through. We also have to account for what we are processing at the moment, mentally or emotionally, and digesting through. It's kind of like when I try to go to the gym and do these intense ab exercises after I've just eaten a full meal and it hasn't digested. Like, how far am I going to get with that without making myself sick and then throwing up? Like, we have to account for whatever we're processing in general at the moment. When we want to talk about willpower and all that shit. Like right now, it's the summer. It's literally 90 to 95 degrees every fucking day, and the humidity makes it worse. And I'm getting hard on myself for not being able to get myself to take my dog for a walk for an hour in the fucking heat. Like, we'll have a heat stroke. So it's not even about willpower. A lot of it is about circumstance. Ugh. Yep.